I want to talk about how we might create a new tender in RedHub. What you need to do is head over onto your tenders. Now, if you are administrator on your project, you can create a new tender. So the way we do that is simply go create tender, and we give the tender a name and we fill in a scope of works. So I've just filled in a tender name. This is for curtains, and we've got C attached invitation to tender. Now you can drag and drop from a Word document or another document a heap of text into this space, and it will format it and make it look good. But I'm choosing to attach my standard tender letter to this particular tender. So I'm just going to save this tender for the moment, and then we're going to look at where it sits here in drafts. So here it is waiting to be fleshed out further. Let's go in and just do a little bit more to this particular tender. Now this option here is not mandatory, but RedHub does have a standard list of sort of trade categories that are sometimes helpful when you want to report on information. So I'll just use it this time, and then we'll go over to closing date. So let's choose a date for the tender to be closed, and we've got the 30th of September at 12 o'clock. If we enable tender reminders, we get to put in additional dates. We might put one in the date before. We may also put one in 2 days before or 3 days before. Just sends a notification reminding the tenderers that they're pricing this project. We want to select, if we can, the option as to whether we want to accept late tenders. Well, we might do that. We might, we might go into October and accept late submissions up to that point. But they won't be advertised that is the case. It'll just have an open tender box. There's also an option there to lock the tender box so that no one can see the tenders until after the closing date. The next step would be to add documents, and we just go through the list of documents that we want to add. In this case, it will be only probably architectural drawings, so we'll select a few architectural drawings, and that's all we'll need to add. Then we'll go to step 4 and choose our invitees for our tender. So here we are searching the database of existing subcontractors in the system. If we want to filter by trade, we can use those standard lists of trades that we have, and we can search blinds and curtains. We can search also via location. So we might go ACT, blinds and curtains, and then we start to hone in on who we might want to use. So we might want to use this guy, and this guy. So we've got 3 tenderers there for this particular tender. Or we can search by individual name or company, or we can just stick with the quick search up here rather than using these combinations of searches. Now, if we find that the particular subcontractor you're not after is not in the RedHub database, then all we need to do is come down here and click to add a new user to RedHub. We can choose to add a new individual user to an existing company, or we can elect, so we can search for our new company here, or we can elect to just add a whole new company and a user and then send the invitation. So if we go back now to our tender, here is our tender ready to go. We've got 3 entities on it, and I think we're ready to save the tender again, and the tender has been saved. So now our tender will sit in drafts as a more completed tender, but not sent yet, curtains with a closing date. So let's go further into the project and save and send that tender. It's giving us a bit of a look at the information that we elected in terms of documents. We're happy with that. That is what we selected, so save and send. That tender now is sending and has been sent, and now it flicks us back to our open tenders, and we can see that it sits here, 3 invitees, no one's viewed it yet, no one's declined it. There is a closing date and a countdown. And that's how you add a new tender to your project on RedHub.